I started adding things into my UI that I actually didn't want, but I certainly was more than happy to troll people with a little bit. So I did do that. I did do that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. Pre-patch is on its way, which means it's time we got our Shadowlands UI ready and able for you guys. And what a monolithic piece of work this is. I want to give a huge shout out to Arzar, a community member and WeCora guru, who has been helping modify the UI for you guys. I'm sorry about the barking. My dog is very excited, but I am on limited time, so I can't scrap this whole video just because Ben is barking. Hopefully he's going to stop in a moment. He is letting us know someone is at the door. Please don't look at damage this time around. I have no working soul binds. I have no working conduits. Just the joys of playing the beta. So, before I get into the stuff we've added, obviously you can see it in the background of all the things that are happening here, is that we wanted to address a lot of issues that have been happening over the course of BFA with the UI. Now, I want to be clear that even though a lot of you say things like, just install your own forehead, we have a significant amount of people who use my UI, including people at Blizzard. The last one got round about 500,000 downloads. That's the kind of scale we're looking at. So that means we include some stuff some of you may find unnecessary. That's okay. You know, that's okay. No one's asking you to use my UI or anything like that. But it is something that is a big deal to a lot of people. Over the course of BFA, they introduced so many systems to the game that it became kind of awkward, to say the least, to keep it updated, because I was constantly having to borrow essentially WeCores from other people for neck essences and things like that. Like, I was just basically attaching new stuff to my screen that I never really put any effort into. A bit of laziness for sure, a little bit of laziness thrown in there, but the problem was we did run into a scenario where they were just introducing systems and changes that I basically just grabbed the WeCore that went with it, slapped it onto my screen somewhere, and it worked good enough. But obviously with Shadowlands, we've got a different experience in terms of that, because ideally all the systems are in place. You know, all the systems are in place. So that means that once we make this UI this time around, we should, in theory, be good. We should be just good to go. So, if we get everything right now, we should be awesome. There was a number of things people didn't like about my old UI, including me. Ironically, there were several things I didn't like. So we're trying to address those as well. And we're also trying to drastically reduce how much effort it takes you guys to actually install these things. And make it as easy as possible, so you're not copying WTF folders and all that kind of nonsense. That is the kind of thing we're going for. So ideally we nail that point. So first of all, LVUI is going to be our basis yet again. It's such a wonderful add-on. Love the guys at LVUI. But what we have done is just swap it around a little bit compared to my old one, so it is less, just to make better use of screen real estate. I have also done the unthinkable. Some of you might not have even noticed, but the last time I made my UI for BFA, I did it on stream, and there's a lot of people who are very, very picky. Like, when you're doing your UI on a stream, especially to thousands of people, you tend to attract a lot of people who have an opinion on this matter. And with that being said, we did have that happen, and I got a little frustrated, so all the things that people were kind of complaining about, I started adding things into my UI that I actually didn't want, but I certainly was more than happy to troll people with a little bit. So I did do that. I did do that. So all that is gone. Everything now lines up perfectly. There's no things that are 1 or 2 pixels off or anything along those lines. It is all done exactly as it should be. And we've just modified it around. The next bigger change is we are no longer using varieties of health frames, right? So previously, I'm going to die here, which is going to be really sad. Unless I can nuke. This is my Serenity Madness bar. We die in 3, 2, 1. And we're dead. We were trying to use Blizzard unit frames. I've tried to use Blizzard unit frames for Raid and... I've tried to use Blizzard unit frames for the entire expansion of BFA for Raid and Party. Now, the problem is Blizzard unit frames are really, really good. And I mean that in terms of any time they bring in new debuffs that are important to the encounter, things like that, every time they bring those in, the Blizzard's unit frames already accounts for them. Now, when you use a third-party unit frames, that's not always the case. And that means that you have to start whitelisting things, blacklisting things, and mess around with it, which people just don't want to do. But after using Blizzard's unit frames for an entire expansion now, the faults that it has, of which are many, but primarily that it doesn't remember certain things, even something simple like I don't want to see groups 5, 6, 7, and 8. That kind of stuff really gets on my nerves, because it's very unnecessary to have to keep modifying it every time So for the entire expansion, every time I went into a raid, I had to fuck about with my UI in some way, which with a third-party add-on, you don't have to do. Even if you use all of Blizzard's settings to say it should be like this, it doesn't remember. It wants you to adjust it again each and every time, and I got tired of it. So, in order to reduce... We might be here a while, not that I mind. In order to reduce that factor... I'm going to be using the LVUI profiles and make them nice. This is just LVUI's unit frames, and we're going to be using them for the raiding and PvP and BGs and all that kind of stuff. We're going to use them in every possible way we can, and the reason behind that is pretty simple, is that it's unified and it's also given to you in one straight, easy way. And I want that for you. I want you to have that. So if we can get that done... I'll be a happy bunny. Please don't just run into things mindlessly. Like, stop doing that. This is not how this is done. Please stop. So we're going to use LVUI. Now, this does mean that I might need to update it a bit more often than not, but my pledge really is that if Blizzard does start introducing buffs and debuffs... this is very frustrating. Buffs and debuffs... that needs to be added to it, then we'll update it accordingly. So if you're a healer especially, that can be a big thing that you need to deal with. So let's get to the weakers then, because they've changed a little bit. They're a little bit more animated now, but a little bit more streamlined. So we have put in every single Covenant ability. That's all in there. You can see Boon of the Ascended is here. We are tracking the files of Serenity that you would use if you were a Kyrian. This character is a Kyrian right now, which is broken. Hence why I don't have soulbinds and things. That's all in there, and it's all done automatically, so it doesn't matter what Covenant you choose, it will track them, it will do everything you need to do. So we're including conduits, and we're including legendary procs and things like that. Everything should be in there, so based at least on the launch patch, no matter what character or class you choose, it should work. We've also tried to streamline some things. You can see my sanity bar here actually turns pinky red. That means I can cast a Devouring Plague. So another factor that we always try and build into my UI, which I hope we've achieved, is that we put the spells in an order of importance from left to right. And that means that when you decide to play an alt or whatever, or something you don't really know much about, but you think it looks cool, the UI will automatically kind of put into play the order of importance of spells. So that you go, oh, okay, you could like pick it up, I need to press X, Y, and Z. So it should help you get started. It's not like a play guide or anything like that, but it should help you get started on being able to play any class and spec in the game immediately and be good to go. That's my plan. It's like, okay, you want to try an Enhancement Shaman now. I don't know much about it, but I've seen my friends play. It looks pretty cool. So then you could just go ahead and get that done. Makes me very happy that people can do that, so I'm hoping that is the case. That should work out. There will be some bugs, and I'm looking at this video for feedback on things you're seeing and saying, well, I don't really like that. So, like, the dot tracker now is much more streamlined, I guess I would say. It's less in your face than it used to be, and some people might actually find that a bit of a problem. The main thing I'm sure many of you have noticed here is that the cooldown bar is now animated. Now, that's for a number of reasons, because one thing I didn't like about my UI towards the end of BFA compared to when I made it at the start of BFA was that the whole purpose of my UI is to practically disappear when you can't do anything useful with any of your spells, right? They're on cooldown for minutes, that you can't do anything, so it should just disappear. You can't use it. That's the information you need. And then it will notify you nearer to the time when that's ready to go. With a static bar, the problem I ran into is that there are now so many talent setups and spells that the bar gets huge, right? And so I ended up using like 2 lines in order to figure that out. And then it was like, some classes fit into like 10 spell spaces. Other classes need like 6. Some classes need 12. So that doesn't work. So what I did is this, which is that it looks quite big at the start, but as you'll see now, is as these spells get used and we're not using them anymore, those spells disappear. And as you can see, I no longer have a lot of spells on my bars. I just have a couple. And the idea there is that... hold on. It's this one. The idea is that by doing this, only at the very start of a fight will we be in the scenario where you have a lot of things on your bar. But very quickly, while you're using your... while you started using your spell cooldowns or whatever, is that they then disappear on their own accord, and you don't need to... You've got a lot of space here, right? There's not a lot that's in your face here. It's this one. And ergo, I think that makes sense. I'm not using Boon of the Ascended, by the way. It's the spell here, because it sucks. Let's surrender. Fuck it. Let's see if we can kill this guy before she disappears again. So I hope you understand the idea with that. Now, defensives, which are on the second row, we've made very, very small. Please die. I'm dead. I am absolutely dead. Here we go. Bye. Bye-bye. Look, I think I was attacking the wrong one anyway. The combat res every time. Combat res to Shadow Priest. For the Shadow of Death. Was hoping we could finish that before the next guessing game. We got close enough. Is there any other major changes I've done? Other than tidy... Okay, so the buff's tracking on the side. I'm still not entirely sold on this as to whether it's useful or not. Part of me suggests... We had a bit of a debate. So I was making a lot of the little final adjustments and tweaks today to this on stream. Before I wanted to sort of present it to you guys and get your opinion. You're obviously a much wider audience. And we're kind of torn on it. Like, on the one hand, it's very useful to see. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, if I use Power Infusion here, you can see I've got a timer that's actually telling me how long I'm in Power Infusion. So it is useful because, like, my Void Form one, it disappears when I'm out of combat, obviously, because we want a clean UI as possible. Timers for stuff like that are actually pretty important, so I don't want to like double up on certain things. And it also gives you an indication of your overlapping cooldowns, which are so important to World of Warcraft if you want to do good damage. So we do get the full idea of that very, very quickly about why we have them in certain orders or which spells keep carrying on, especially if you're managing things like Mindbender and all that. Considering it's only going to be up for 30 seconds and it's we've made it like half opacity, so it's not in your face, I think it actually works pretty well to track things. I don't think it's like taking up too much space. And there's something kind of cool about having all your cooldowns on the screen and realizing that you're blasting right now. I think that works out pretty well. So I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not 100% on it though. You can see I do have a little bit of trepidation about it because we never had it in the past. God, I wish I had Searing Nightmare right now. That would be so good. But we don't. But we don't. So cry, 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 cry. Oh, our tank just died, or our tank just got thrown off. One of the two. That's okay. That happens. That happens. That's fine. That's fine. You'll see it more now. So it includes things like Bloodlust, that kind of thing, to make sure it's better. overall, I'm really happy. I'm especially happy with the LUI redesign. This needs some work, this interrupt thing. That's not something I actually sorted out today because I wasn't interrupting things while I was building the UI. But I'm pretty happy with how it's looking so far. I think it's quite nice and clean. Arzar's done a really good job of doing things like the Seregnus to Madness timer, not being in your face, but it's notable enough that you understand that, you know, you've got to get this done before you die. All those aspects, I think, have worked out really, really well. That squelching noise is gross. I've never played this place with noise on. As you can see, we still have things like the Fortitude notification to let you know that, you know, there's somebody in your party who does not have Fortitude on. Let's go. So you can see if I power infuse into Void Eruption, get my Mind Bender going, you see how these cooldowns all rack up here to show my coolies? I actually think that works pretty well. Stop following me. The fuck? Please stop following me. I beg. That thing tracks still like an absolute son of a bitch. Really? You're fixating me? What I can do, though, is surrender to Madness off this. And get a full Void form off. So I'll do that. Yes, you can. So I hope this works out well for you guys. I'm liking where we're going with it. I think it's much cleaner. There's a couple of tweaks I want to make to it still, but I really wanted to get your guys' feedback on this. Are you like, well, I've used your UI for ages, I prefer it just stay as it is? Do you recognize it as being a little bit cleaner now and a little bit tidier? I think it is. I think it's pretty nice. There's still some tweaks to be made, but this is generally the direction we're going with it, and hopefully we'll have this prepared for you by pre-patch, which likely is next week. It's a lot of work to do, but we have got help this time around to save me making it all entirely on my own. But let me know. All right, let me know, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.